simultaneous equations. Okay, solving this one is not difficult. You just need to remember the ways that we solve them. Now, with linear equations, you have a host of ways that you could solve them, but when you have non-linear equations, you are somewhat limited. Now, the easiest way to solve non-linear simultaneous equations is just by substitution. The way that works is you pick an equation, it doesn't matter which one, and you make one of the variables the subject. So you can choose, I'll make x the subject, it's fine. And then whatever you get, you substitute it into the other equation. Then from there, you work out the variable. Then you go back and find out what the one that you substituted is equal to. Okay, so picking an equation, like I said, it doesn't really matter which equation you pick. Your answer will be exactly the same if you do everything correctly. But always try and make your work as uncomplicated, or as so that you don't have to do so much work or such a difficult task. So to do that, pick the equation where making x or y the subject of the formula doesn't involve difficult things. Okay, so I will pick this, the second equation, and then I will make y the subject of the formula, because I can see if I make y the subject of the formula, all I have to do is subtract x on both sides, and I have y is equal to something. So I'll do that. So I can label my equations. This is 1 and this is 2. Then I say from equation 2, I have y is equals to 4 minus x. And that wasn't difficult. I didn't have to struggle and think a lot. Granted, in the first equation, making x or y the subject isn't that difficult either, but I prefer subtracting. I think subtracting is easier than dividing, but it's up to you. Okay, now that I've made y the subject of the formula in equation 2, this new equation, I will go and substitute it in the other equation that I did not use. So as an exercise, you could try making y the subject of the formula here and then substitute it in there and then see if your answers are the same. Okay, and then substitute in 1. Okay, so when I do that, I have y over here. Now in place of y, I'm going to put this one here. So I have 2x, those are here, it's 2x, then instead of y, I put 4 minus x, and it's in brackets because this 4 minus x is the whole of y, so it's not just 4 and then minus x without the brackets. That is something different. Okay, and then this is equal to minus 10. So multiply out the brackets. This is 8x. And then the 2 times that one, this is minus 2x squared. This is equal to minus 10. Now, from here you can see I have a quadratic equation. So, you know the ways to solve them. Either you factorize, complete the square, use the formula. It's up to you. Now before I do that, I noticed that all these coefficients, these 8, 2, and then this constant term here minus 10, they're all divisible by 2. So I'm going to divide everything by 2 just to make my work easier. So I will have 4x minus x squared is equals to minus 5. Okay, then quadratic equation, everything on one side, 0 on the other side. So I'll take this to that side. So I have this is x squared minus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. So I brought everything to one side. It looks a little bit different than you thought it would because I did everything and then rearranged it. So you can take everything one by one to the other side and then try and rearrange it so that you have what I have here. If you have something different, one of us made a mistake, and I don't think it's me. Okay, so this is what we have. I think this can be factorized. So I showed you how to factorize in the previous one, so in one of the previous questions. So this one I will just factorize it. So you can do it the way we normally do it. I'll just show you a shortcut to factorize. So what you do is you open your brackets, and because the variable I'm interested in is x, I put an x over here, put an x over there, and I still look for two numbers. When I multiply them, the answer is -5, and when I add them, the answer is -4. So those two numbers are -5 and +1. So I put -5 here and I put 1 there, and then it's factorized. That's it. Okay, so I have two brackets or two terms multiplying, and the answer is 0. It means that the first one, x minus 5, is equal to 0, or x plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, and this is only true when this number over there is 0. If I have two numbers and I'm multiplying them and the answer is 0, it means the first one is 0 or the second one is 0. If this number here was 1, if I multiply two numbers and the answer is 1, it doesn't mean the first one is 1 or the second one is 1. You can have 2 times half. 2 times half is 1, but 2 is not 1 and half is not 1. But with a 0, that one is a fact. One of them at least must be 0. So when I solve that, I will have x is equal to 5, or x is equals to -1. So you don't stop there, because I had simultaneous equations where I need to work out the value for x and the value of y. So you've told me the two possibilities, or we've worked out the two possible values of x. We need to work out what are the possible values of y, or what are the y values. So I'll write it like this. When x is equal to 5, remember the equation for y. I have y is equals to 4 minus x. Now instead of x, I'm going to put 5. So this is 4 minus 5. This is equals to -1. So I can write this as a pair. This is 5 and -1. So you know that the first term is the x term, the second one is the y term. And then when x is equals to -1, can work out y is equals to 4 minus -1. 4 minus -1, this is equal to 5. So I write this as a pair. The x value is -1 and the y value is 5. Okay, so it's important, either write it like this, where you have x is equal to 5 and then you work out y underneath, so I can see which x value goes with which y value, instead of just writing x is equal to 5, y is equal to -1, and then somewhere you have y is equals to -1 and y is equal to 5, that I don't know which x goes with which x, because they are a pair. One must go with the other. So 5 must go with -1 and -1 should go with 5. Okay, somebody might think 5 goes with 5 if it's not clear.